The last stop on our world tour today is Tanzania. For all those who dream of Africa and the quintessential safari experience, it's time to start dreaming about Tanzania. Africa is filled with amazing countries that should be explored. However, Tanzania is often glossed over. But today we're diving in deep into this unique country with Justa Lujwangana from Curious on Tanzania. Curious on Tanzania is a social traveling company that provides Tanzanian experiences with the locals' touch. They help you discover, plan, and book customized, intimate, meaningful experiences with a local touch. Welcome, Justa. I'm so excited to have you here at the summit, and I'm really excited to be learning all about Tanzania. And I'm excited to go on this little virtual tour and learn more about this amazing country.
Thank you so much, and I'm excited too.
Awesome, awesome. Let's jump right in. I'm really curious to find out what inspired your company, Curious on Tanzania. How did that all get started?
Oh gosh, it's like a long story. But I guess I'm gonna cut it a little bit short. But one thing that inspired me to create Curious in Tanzania was it was because of my own fascination for the country. I spent almost like 10 years in the United States without going back to my country. I came to the United States, so I could say New York at the age of 12. So between the age of 12 to like 22, that's the time like I did not visit. Or even I think it's even a little bit longer. And things change a lot, especially if you're working with a developing country. The progress changes a lot. So like when I went back 10 years later, the country had become like something else. It was completely different from what I experienced as a child to now. I was able to see more. When I went on the safari, I was like, wow, is this part of Tanzania? Never knew. And then I just went into like the cultures and everything else. I even got more impressed by it. But when I came back to America and I was sharing with all my friends, they're like, oh, okay, Africa, what is, they were just generalizing like the whole, the continent. It seemed like it was almost like a country to them. And that's all they saw. They saw the poverty, majority of the continent, which has 54 countries, as it's this private, this is a poverty country instead of a continent. So like I kind of like after that, I wanted to make it my goal to kind of like share as much as I knew about my home country, which is Tanzania. So I made it my goal that I wanted to visit every corner of Tanzania, get to understand it better, and also become that master type of person that they could come to me and ask me about anything that's happening in Tanzania. I could be able to show it to them, and I could also be able to kind of like curate a trip for them to go and experience it at the same time. So that's what kind of like inspired me to start Curious in Tanzania. It was from my fascination for my homeland and also wanting to share, or like I should say, to kind of bridge the gap between like Tanzania and also United States, I guess you could say.
What a wonderful idea. Especially, I guess I'm kind of lumped into that group. I know Africa is a bunch of countries. I have not had the chance to see all the countries, and when I think of Tanzania, I think of the safaris and the animals and the wonderful people and music. But what exactly sets Tanzania apart from its surrounding countries?
Oh gosh. So we always, as Tanzanians, every time you go somewhere else and you see something a little bit different from what you're used to, we have this song that we sing. It's Tanzania, Tanzania, nakupenda kwa moyo wote, which means Tanzania, Tanzania, I love you with all my heart. Because like you can never get to us Tanzanians, we are so proud of our country that we think we can get something equivalent to it. So when you're looking for the coastal experience When you're looking for the beach experience, you'll be able to head right over. Probably even take you like half an hour or an hour to get to Zanzibar. Zanzibar, I would say Zanzibar is almost like it's a beautiful island. You could put the Caribbeans times it by 100, and you still will not get the experience that you get in Zanzibar. You come to Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam is it's almost like New York, where it's a melting pot with all these different cultures just coming in together and blending it really well to create this part of, I don't know what you want to call it, but you just want to taste it. And then when you go to like, let me say Arusha, or when you go to Moshi, you'll be able to climb one of the tallest mountains in Africa and the second tallest in the world. And then you go a little bit further off, you go to Arusha, you could be able to see incredible game parks, and you could be able to see the landscape, like the Ngorongoro crater, which is the number 7 or number 8 wonder of the world. And then you have the Serengeti, which is like the endless plains where you could just, the animals just go free. I was reading up on history about how we were able to preserve our national parks, where our first president was very keen, which was President Nyerere, Julius Nyerere, was very keen on making sure that as a country we were able to preserve our animals so the next generation was able to feed off that. And I'm seeing the results of that now, where even us as my generation, the generation that's coming up, we're able to see how valuable that is. And you could look at it, it's almost 30% of our land is towards game, almost 30% of our land is towards game reservation, and that's almost like equivalent to Germany. The size of Germany is the size of our game reservations that we have in Tanzania, and ironically, Germany used to be one of the countries that used to colonize us. So just to give you like a little hint of what you could get from the melting pot of Tanzania. So yeah.
Wow. It's so special, and there's so much. So much.
Yes, and I haven't tapped on even the cultures. Like I am from Bukoba, and or like I am Haya. There's almost like 120 tribes. We speak almost like 200 different languages. Wow. So even just the languages by itself, you know how they have French, and French is like this romantic language. Mm-hmm. Now just imagine having almost like 200 languages, where some of the languages, just the sounds of it will just get you so curious. You want to learn more. How did this language come about? Yeah. How are the cultures forming? Like, it's so much history that's there that some of it is not even written. Some of it now is becoming forgotten. That's what we need to figure out a way of how to preserve it. But it's like so much within one country. Even for me as a Tanzanian or as an African, I had to choose to kind of like just focus on Tanzania because there's so much, and I did not want to be so broad with what I'm trying to tell people and just confuse people even more, except for those people who think Africa is a country instead of a continent. So just specifying it to this is Tanzania, and oh my God, this is what you go find. It's even now as I go on and on, it's even becoming a tougher job to do because there's so much to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, when you first established Curious on Tanzania, I'm sure you wanted to focus on one area, and now I know it's grown, and I'm curious to hear a little bit about its growth process and what your plans are for the future of Curious on Tanzania.
Yes. So before I wanted it, when I first went to my country, the first thing that was kind of like introduced to me was the game parks. Mm-hmm. So like I wanted it to become like a safari company. So I ended up calling the company before was called Keys to Safari, because I wanted to give people like the keys to get to the safaris. That's how I kind of identified the company. But then as I went on, I'm a dancer. And then I'm also this person who's very curious to learn more about what's going on in particular places. But then I also want to work with like different organizations. But then I also want to have the locals involved too at the same time. So there were so many things that I could have I could be able to tap into. But just because I'm limiting myself to just calling the company Keys to Safari was not going to do justice to what I wanted to do. So that's how I ended up calling the company Curious in Tanzania, which kind of like ends up giving me the way of being able to, let me say, like maybe like a week or two from now, I'm going to be working with a nonprofit where they need the presence of a Tanzanian culture, and they're based here in New York. They always have fundraising events, but they never have the taste of the culture present. So what we ended up doing, what we are ending up doing is I bring a group of my friends together. I teach them what Tanzanian dance is all about, and then we go out and perform it for the audience for the fundraising event. So the organization ends up getting more money, and that money gets sent back to Tanzania to also help out more people in Tanzania at the same time. So like that's how I kind of ended up kind of like exploring area where, let me make it broad, but I have a specific area where I want to focus in, which is I like our specialty, I guess I should say, our specialty is experiential travel. So that's our focus, but we could always range out a little bit more.
Okay. Wow,
Yeah.
great. It's really, really exciting. And I'm really excited to see how that's going to come together more, and all the experiences you're going to curate. And
Yeah, there's different experiences that we curate, and even the more people I get, the more people are more curious, and the more they want to do like out of, I don't know what you want to call it, but like it's out of the pathway or out of the regular routine kind of experience.
yeah, kind of like off the tourist trail, or off that beaten track where everybody wants to do the same thing, and it sounds like people are not interested in that anymore.
Exactly. And then there also, I just found out like recently, I was on Facebook and I put up kind of like a question, and I just wanted to know people who wanted to kind of explore the remote remote travel. So like they travel and they're able to do their work at the same time. And I got like a good responses. So like because I had converted one of my childhood homes into like a bed and breakfast. So now I'm thinking, hey, I could do like a co-living space so people could be able to come there, do their work there, and also like on the weekdays do their work. I'll get them networking with people around, but also on weekend go on a safari or something like that. So you were killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, well, cool. That's
Yeah.
that sounds like something I'd want to do one of these days.
You definitely need. Very affordable. You get to be in Dar es Salaam. You get to enjoy the city itself. But if you want to go to the village, you could also do that. If you want to go to like a safari, you could do that. If you want to drop by Zanzibar for the weekend, you could do that. It's like so many different ways. And then you could come back here and you could just relax. And then like it's a home away from home, I guess I should say. That's what we want to give people, the home away from home.
Lovely, lovely,
Yeah.
wonderful. So I mean, you touched on some of the amazing things to do, but what have been some of your most fun or exciting moments in Tanzania?
For me, myself, what should I say? Which one? It was probably when I met the Bushmen, and that was in Seru Game Park, which is considered one of our largest game parks. It's on the southern sector. When I went there, I was able to meet this. He's very unique guy. He's completely a bushman. What he used to do before, he used to be one of the poachers. So like, and then after a while, he just got tired of poaching, and then he went and poached like his last elephant, I think he said. And then after that, he got money from it, and then he went back to school, and then became a tour guide. Now he does walking tours through the to Selu Game Park, but his walking tours it's almost it's very interesting where you get to walk like how his life is on a daily basis, how a bushman lives his life. He climbs trees, like these baobab trees, which are probably like 5,000 years old, and they're humongous. He would just climb it all the way to the top and just sing his heart out in different languages. And the unique thing about him, he's able to speak almost like 6 languages. I think it was probably almost like 4 or 5 European languages. and then he speaks his local languages. So he's able to interact with like a lot of people at the same time. One thing I remember that he made me do was while we were walking down, he made me eat elephant remaining. I'm always going to remember that. I think that was one of the most exciting moments. I know you guys are going to think of it as very weird. Me, I could claim I ate elephant remaining.
Elephant poop.
Let me clarify. It's almost like it's because elephants don't digest their food as well when it goes back the other way. It's like literally looks like grass. It's like no more grass. But they usually, when they're eating around, they end up eating medicine. They ended up eating different things. So, but like mostly like medicine plants. So like the reason why the Bushmen eat the elephant poop, I should say, is because of the nutrients that are in there, or the medicine that's in there, and it's combined it all together to make them stronger. So that's the only way why I ate that.
Interesting. Is that an experience that travelers can choose to have if they go on a tour with him?
I'm not sure if they. I mean, they could go on the safari walking tour, yes, but if you're that adventurous. It comes with warnings. I don't think I would recommend for somebody who has a soft stomach. I just did it because I was also filming. So like I was like, okay, let's go for it. I am like Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
But like I guess I could give another example, which is not as an extreme. Like one of my best moments was when for the first time when I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with my whole family. So we started out climbing Kilimanjaro on the base. We only climbed it to the first level, but it takes like usually a professional like 2 hours to climb it, but it took us almost 5 hours to climb to that particular level, and then we came right back down. But while we were climbing, the first hour, everybody was kind of like scattered and like talking. But the second hour, we ended up realizing how we were getting like so connected to each other. And it's because like we were dependent on each other. And then the conversations got like very closer, and we kind of got to know each other even more better while we were climbing this mountain. While going up, we had people coming down, and people are greeting us, and people are encouraging us to keep on going while climbing up. We also ended up seeing one particular person. He was kind of like bald head, and he had two nurses with him. He had people carrying oxygen tanks, and then we were wondering what's going on. But that particular guy, that was his last wish to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It was because he had cancer. He had terminal cancer. Sorry. And then, so right after we passed him, we was like, what? If this guy could do this, we're going to... everybody started rushing, like climbing very quickly. Even my mom was like, everybody was like, rushing to climb. Actually, not climbing with him, but my brothers and sisters climbed it with me, and they were like all rushing. It was like, okay, if they could do it, we could be able to do it too. So it was a very intimate moment, and I highly recommend when people come to Tanzania to climb the mountain, even to like the first level. It will bring you guys together as the first thing that you do when you get to the country.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean that kind of gets into my next question is, if someone is coming to Tanzania, I'm sure there's so much to do. What are some things that you can't miss if you go?
Wow. We are talking about the whole country.
The whole country. I mean, like you said, Mount Kilimanjaro, that's usually on everyone's list. And so, that's definitely something to try to work in.
So pretty much like the Serengeti, the Ngorongoro, the Mount Kilimanjaro, going to Zanzibar, that's pretty much people are going to do that. But I think just being able to pick one of the tribes and just understanding who they are. I think that experience in itself will kind of like keep you even connected more to like either like your own family or just a connection with somebody who is in Tanzania. It will get you more closer to understanding how they live their life and what they cherish the most. So like just pick a tribe and just go visit them and see how they are and how they live their life. And maybe you could figure out a way of how to make something easier if you could. But not to change something, it's just making recommendation or suggestion.
Nice. Tanzania's had a few events, like musical events, and they've been all over the social media, at least with my feeds. Sharing some of these new new get-togethers and new events. Could you tell us a little bit more about what's going on over there?
Oh my God. These things have been going on for like the longest, but it's just kind of like putting a light to something.
Okay.
So there's like, you mean the Tanzanian community in New York or in Tanzania?
Well, I was thinking of Tanzania. They had a couple music festivals this year, and
Oh yeah.
those cultural festivals that I've been seeing a lot about. But I mean, also I know that there's a growing Tanzanian community in New York, and trying to share that culture with New York citizens as well. So yeah, both are very interesting.
Okay. Oh yes. Oh gosh. So okay. So I'll start in Tanzania. So there's of course there are a lot of like creative young people. When you look at Tanzania, almost like 50% of our population is under the age of like 17 and a half. So like the creative minds are like people are getting inspired from like everywhere. There's a lot of festivals that are happening. Some are new and some have been there for a long time. For example, the Zanzibar Film Festival that's coming up in June, in July. I'm sorry. That brings together people who love film and artists and music, and it all happens on this beautiful old city of Stone Town. There's also another festival that it happens all the time in February. That festival is Saudi Zabuzara. Saudi Zabuzara is basically a music festival that brings together almost like 400 artists from like all over Africa. But of course, we do concentrate a lot on Tanzania to try to bring out that talent. And then they have three stages that they perform at the same exact location where the Zanzibar Film Festival takes place. What I liked about it, it was how it brought the locals and the foreigners together. And you would see even from the pictures, like you find a local sitting here, a foreigner sitting here, a local sitting there, a foreigner sitting there. So people just come all together from everywhere, and it's almost like a place where it's almost like a mutual ground place where people could just come because of the reason just to watch a movie. That movie, it could be about anything in different languages and whatever, but people are just coming there and just enjoying themselves. And that's one thing that I loved about the Zanzibar Film Festival. So if you're looking for that kind of like experience, I highly recommend for you to go to the Zanzibar Film Festival. There's also November. November is the Karibu Festival in Bagamoyo. And Bagamoyo basically means where the heart belongs. This is like an area where the slaves they were last seen before they were shipped off to, most of the slaves were shipped off to the Middle East. So that was the last place before they were shipped off. But like that community is still like it's a UNESCO also preserved. So it's still the old style kind of feeling, and they have a festival there too. It's called Karibu Festival, which is a music festival also in November. That's free for everybody who wants to join and come and participate. But they pull artists from like everywhere in Africa also, so like that's also a great experience to go to.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Then one more thing that came about after 10 years is the TED Talk Global.
Okay.
TED Global that's coming in August of this year, so it should be interesting to see that happening in Arusha.
Wow. Yeah. Lots of exciting and interesting stuff going on. And so maybe could be something for travelers if they're thinking about going to Tanzania. Maybe try to plan a time when you can go to one of those festivals. That would I think it would be a cherry on top to have that extra, cultural experience for sure.
Exactly.
And I know that you have been putting together events here and there in New York and trying to share some culture through dances and food and, you know, just sharing a lot of that wonderful culture in New York. And so I was wondering if you have any events coming up.
So this, let me see, do I have any events? I have like one event coming up this weekend. I'm working with this organization. This is it's a nonprofit organization that caters to children in Karatu, Tanzania. And basically, what they do is they match them up education and technology together. So for the longest time, they have been hosting different events here in New York, but they haven't figured out a way of how to immerse the culture to their events so they could be able to encourage their attendees to be able to donate more money. I would just bring the entertainment of like the Tanzanian culture all together. So when I met up with them 2 years ago, we kind of brought that to them through dance and like presenting the culture through food. So people are able to enjoy it better and connect better, and then they're able to, even if they're making a donation, they know it was more impactful because they were able to experience something and it's like giving back at the same time. So that organization is a really great organization. If people are looking to volunteer, it would be a great organization. It's called Powering Potential. So yeah.
Say that one more time.
Powering Potential.
Powering Potential. Okay.
Yeah. So it's based here in New York, so you could be able to tap onto it. Yes.
Nice. Wonderful. Excellent. Well, I think we covered a lot. But do you have do you have anything else you'd like to share with viewers about Tanzania or about traveling to your country?
Let me see. I probably might have like one. It's probably outside, like what I learned in school when I went to school in Uganda. So like every single day we'll wake up, it's a song that I know, and then I'll lead up to whatever events that we guys have. So the song goes, Museno ndigamba muchi, kubenchanjivamu. Abange barinjukirako ki, kubenchanjivamu owange. Oba kulya buli n'okunywa bunywi. Temuli kyamatendo n'okukujjukira lw'amabanja bisonyiwa. So what that song says is, in this world, what have I done? In this world, what are people going to remember me by? In this world, what have I done? Are people going to remember me by the drinks that I drank? Or are people going to remember me by the food that I ate? But what are people going to remember me by? Are they going to remember me by my debts? Or what are they going to remember me by? So for us, as when we were kids in Uganda, or like even in Tanzania, we were just reminded almost on a daily basis to do something that you want to be remembered by. And that's how I ended up creating Periods in Tanzania, because or when I go out of this place, I just want to be remembered by I tried or I did something of this kind, and it could even continue on with my generations to be able to pick it up and continue going forward.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was really beautiful. I love.
Go ahead. And then, so what we have going on, I have a trip that's coming up in July. That's from July 6th to the 16th. That's around the Zanzibar Film Festival. So it's an amazing curated trip. You could be able to check out our website and get information from that. But we also have a culinary adventure trip that's coming up in October. So if you're not able to make it in July, you could still hop on to us to October. That's October 12th to the 22nd. And then we have a passport to beauty trip that's also coming up in end of October to November. That trip, is so inspiring because it was inspired by a young Tanzanian American who has never been to Tanzania but is interested in coming to Tanzania, but also bring her band with her. She's a musician, so she's going to be bringing the music and her band with her, and we're going to learn all about collaborate with different artists in our village in Bukoba, and then go to the restaurants. It's like a lot happening, but also learning about what beauty is to a woman at the same time. And that's October 26th to November the 7th. But you could be able to check out all of that on curiousontanzania.com.
Okay.
That's tanzania.com.
Nice. Wonderful. All those trips sound so amazing. Um, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing today, Justa. And yeah, I'm so excited to be sharing this here at the summit. And we reminding everybody that they can always, fit some time in for Tanzania. It's just a once in a lifetime kind of place to visit. And yeah, I feel like it would be worthy of, some quality time for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you again, and we'll talk soon.
Oh, thank you.